Do the Patriots have a new number one wide receiver? What can Hollywood Brown do for you with Xavier Worthy out potentially? And who are the two undrafted Steelers that you need to be aware of for week 2 in the FFPC? Plus the 20-time FFPC League champion Ray Seggern is here to discuss Jordan Love, Javonte Williams, and so much more. We've got a great show for you. Ferrell Elliott is here. Stick around. Your high-stakes fantasy football hour starts now.
Can't stand the pressure. I've seen greater men than need a lesson.
Broadcast live and heard around the world, you are now watching the most entertaining hour of radio on the planet. Welcome to the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by myffpc.com with your hosts Eric Balkman and Ferrell Elliott. The High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour is your home for analysis from the best players in the world. And now, because no one else was available, here are Eric Balkman and Ferrell Elliott.
Solace in the scripture. Are we not all our father's sons? I became a man. Nobody ever told me what a man was.
Thank you, Rob. Greetings and salutations to all of you Balkaholics and Ferrelliacs. Welcome to the latest episode of the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by myffpc.com. I'm your slightly above average host, Eric Balkman. My co-host is the definitive commissioner of fantasy football, Mr. Ferrell Elliott. Coming up on tonight's show, we're going to talk about the Giants ground game after week 1, which Bears receivers you want to deploy in your lineups this week, and more before the 20-time FFPC League champion Ray Seggern hops aboard to break down the Seahawks backfield, how to handle Brock Bowers on Monday night, and so much more. If you want to connect with us on X, you can do so at HSFF. I'm at Eric Balkman, and check out the Kentucky Fantasy Football State Championship run by Ferrell Elliott at KFFSC.com. Facebook.com/HSFF is where to reach us. You can also email the show at highstakesfantasyfootball@gmail.com. If you have any questions for us, now is the time to send them in. We'll try to get to all the chat room questions, X posts, and emails in our fantasy feedback segment coming up later on in the show. Thanks to our audio engineer and my best friend Bryce, and of course our producer and mutual friend Rob. Well, congratulations to all of you FFPC players. You helped us reach capacity in the main event, the Big Gorilla, the Super Bracket, the Terminator, both best ball tournaments. Can't thank you enough. Big shout out to all of you for supporting us. We certainly appreciate it. And we're going to do our best to get you that $1 million that year, or the $1 million grand prizes and everything else that you're registered for this year. Thank you so much. And thank you again. Just because the season started doesn't mean we're not offering anything new. We do have the weekly challenge back again this year. There's no draft in the weekly challenge. There's no salary cap. You just pick 10 players that you want and watch those lineups play out throughout the weekend. You can win up to $2,500. You can compete in 10, 30, or 100 team contests. The only slant is you can only pick one player per team in each of your lineups. So if you want Patrick Mahomes, you can't have Hollywood Brown. If you want Joe Burrow, you can't have T. Higgins. If you want Jalen Hurts, you can't have Saquon Barkley. So that is the slant. That's what makes it so fun, so maddening, and so enjoyable to keep playing it throughout the season over at myffpc.com, myffpc.com. Remember to like this video, subscribe to the channel, comment on this video, share it with your friends, share it with your enemies, and get notified each and every time we go live, which will be year-round, 10 p.m. Friday nights right here on the FFPC YouTube channel. Want to bring in the man, the myth, the legend right now, the co-host with the most, and of course, the birthday boy at jferrellelliott on X, the Kentucky Fantasy Football State Championship Commissioner, Ferrell Elliott. Happy birthday, my friend.
Oh, Balky, I'm so honored. What a wonderful, wonderful introduction that was. And thank you for everyone that's reached out on my birthday today. It's been quite a day.
The chat room is buzzing. You got some happy birthday wishes from Dom Gazzetti, from James Hicks, obviously, in there as well. And then Tom's asking me to bust out the Raiders chain early tonight.
Why not?
I was going to wait, but in your honor, Ferrell, I'm don it right now. We'll get the Raiders chain on for you.
No, 1-0 Raiders, Balky.
There you go. By the way, I just bear with me 1 second. I have to show you what John Terry got me in Las Vegas. John Terry, obviously one of our favorites.
Yeah, of course.
He because we're at Paris this year in Las Vegas, and I meant to get a photo with him with this on, and I didn't get a chance to. But he got me a beret, Ferrell, a French beret.
Wonderful.
Just like you would see in National Lampoon's European vacation with my name on it. How about that right there?
I don't see anything humorous about that. I see that, Balky, the French Foreign Legion in the recruiting process could not have arrived with a better match for you.
I think this is fantastic. I'm trying to fix it right now, but yeah, he had it and gave it to me, and I meant to get a photo with him with it on, but I didn't get a chance to. So John will have to wear it next year, and we'll get a photo in front of you.
That's a wonderful. Obviously, he didn't get me one because of the length of my hair. He knew that they did not have one big enough to handle that.
The thing is, with hair like that, Ferrell, you don't want to cover that up anyway with the beret.
Okay.
Yeah. So we have week 1 behind us. We have week 2 in front of us. Don says, I think it's perfect on you, Balky. I couldn't even get it on straight, but yeah, it does. It's very reminiscent of the National Lampoon's European Vacation beret. So thank you, John. Kudos to you and kudos again. Okay, let's get into it here tonight. Okay. Dallas Goedert officially ruled out by the Eagles. He will not play in that big tilt against Kansas City Chiefs. The guys taking over for him are Grant Calcaterra and Kylan Granson. Neither one of these guys, I would encourage you to start even in an FFPC league. There are no teams on bye this week. Even if you got hit with a Kittle injury, I think you can do better. Maybe you can't. Maybe they're desperation plays. The reason I bring this up, Ferrell, is we are going to learn a lot about Devonta Smith and A.J. Brown this week. We saw all throughout the 2024 season that there is this big emphasis on Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley running the ball. Quite frankly, they didn't have to throw the ball. And week 1 against the Dallas Cowboys, they didn't really throw the ball then to A.J. Brown or Devonta Smith. You know who they threw it to? Dallas Goedert. So if Brown and Smith can't come through for you this week, remember Brown was dealing with that hamstring injury throughout the preseason. I'm going to have serious questions about these guys going forward because this is set up for them to have a big week. And if they don't, I don't know, man. I don't know what's going on in Philadelphia.
Oh, Balky, you've opened up a can of worms that could occupy the whole show. We have an engaging guest to come on with the show. Okay, first of all, about the tight end position here. If we go back to Pros versus Joes, you will remember that I took a lot of heat when I told everyone to try to stay away from Goedert. Goedert was not a top tight end choice. Now that Goedert has proven that his biggest disability is his lack of availability, we now go to the backup tight end, a tight end that has been there. Grant Calcaterra has been there now 3 years. So if we roll back the clock to 2022, notwithstanding Smith and notwithstanding Brown, because we know exactly what those guys are going to do, and they're going to be great given their opportunities. Well, we roll back the clock. What kind of tight end is this? This is a guy that when he was coming out, as I recall, he talked all about Zach Ertz. This is the next coming of Zach Ertz. He is 240, so he's 245 coming out of school, so he lacked the strength to handle the inline tight end position, and that's what Granson will do here. But this is a player that put together a 5-catch game last year for 60-plus yards and another 4-catch game when he was filling in for Goedert. And I think if you look past this player, you're looking past a guy with probably exceptional speed at the tight end position, a 4.6. He stands 6'4", but his wingspan is like 6'8". He's like a Michael Jordan wings poster. The problem was he was a bit of a body catcher at SMU and it held him back in the draft. But they've now worked with him. They taught him how to use his hands to catch the ball. If the cupboard's pretty lank, Balky, when we get down to tight ends. I saw Juwan Johnson going for bids around $200 in free agency this weekend.
Higher than that.
Kittle, Goedert, Bowers. Some confusion about Ingram, although now I think he's going to play. All I'm saying is that I don't want our drafters to overlook Calcaterra, who they can probably get at a bargain price. But then he goes out and gets 5 catches and a score, and all of a sudden it's a $200 and $300 bid selection. So I like this player. And, they're going to split time at tight ends. Well, when Calcaterra is on the field, it's more of a passing down. The snaps that will go to Granson will be more of the inline blocking down. So that's my spot on that tight end.
I will say, and you bring up Bowers, and we'll talk about him later. I will say that Calcaterra is owned in less than 1% of Big Gorilla and FFPC Main Event teams, leagues. How do I know that? FantasyMojo.com, at FantasyMojo on X. Darren Armani, the godfather of the Pros vs. Joes Challenge. He also runs FantasyMojo.com. Anytime we cite tournament ownership on this show, it's through FantasyMojo.com.
And Balky, if you like availability, there you go.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Let's see what we got here from the chat. We got Tom Smith saying, go get Michael Mayer. That'd be excellent for you Bowers players out there. Mm-hmm. I put 50 bids in on Juwan Johnson, got 2 shares. That's our buddy Fantasy Sopranos, Steve G chiming in on that.
And that's from a guy that loves to spend money.
That's true. Yes, exactly.
That's a guy you can always count on to pick up the check right there.
Permar is back, and he has a question. Would you start Brenton Strange over Mark Andrews this week, Ferrell? Mark Andrews is at home against the Browns. Brenton Strange is at Cincinnati. I don't think I would. I get it if you want to. I don't think it's a bad play, but if it comes down to it, I'm still going to play Andrews over Strange. I don't think Likely's playing this week, so I'm going to go with him.
Whoever you take, Permar, I'm just glad to see you back in the chat.
Yes.
We've been wondering about you. It's hard to put a player like Andrews on your bench, but I'm going to possibly lean towards youth. Yeah, we've seen, the Ravens and both the Ravens and Eagles are going to have to do differing things to win than they both did in the first game. So.
I want to get to another guy that was going hot and heavy off the waiver wire this week, Ferrell. Patriots wide receiver Kayshon Boutte removed from the injury report with a shoulder issue, and he is going to play week 2 against the Miami Dolphins. He was limited on Wednesday, practiced in full on Thursday, practiced in full again today. This is a third-year wide receiver who finished among the top 25 receivers in week 1 this year, carrying over kind of like a good ending to the 2024 season. Now, whether he's going to do this on a weekly basis, I don't know, but that's why I put in bids on him, and I tried to get him this week. This is a good week to do it. Week 2, he gets the Miami Dolphins, whose defense is awful, and quite frankly, the worst part of that awful defense might be the secondary. So this is a prime spot for Kayshon Boutte here. I think if you look at what you want to do with him this week, as far as starting him or not, hopefully you don't have to, but I think in a pinch, this guy could end up putting up good numbers again. I know the jury's kind of still out on him. I was listening to the Draft Sharks podcast today, and I think it was Jared Smola and he's referencing Shane Hallam. Matt Schauf was referencing Shane Hallam, and they were not impressed with Boutte in week 1, but the numbers were pretty good, Ferrell. If you look at the raw numbers, he put up good ones in week 1, and certainly week 2 it could continue, and maybe past week 2 as well.
I wonder what they saw that didn't impress them. I saw the player making contested catches on the sidelines. I saw a very, very physical player. I saw a player getting off with a release and getting open very quickly, and a quarterback that seems to have a vibe and a relationship with him. So there's nothing about Boutte that I really don't like. And everyone that Balky, how many minutes we've been in the show? 13 minutes. Pittman scored 22 points this week, or 20 points this week. I just wanted to get that in there. But if you have Pittman, who has a matchup situation this weekend in his game, you don't want to automatically look at your frontline players and say that you might not be able to improve your lineup. And if you have a player like Boutte going against what Balky just said about the Miami defense, because everything he said is true, there's a player and that you should probably consider getting in your lineup. And in other words, I might start him over Pittman.
Yeah, and Pittman's going to get Patrick Surtain from Denver this week, so that's probably not ideal. And that would make some sense that you would want to get Boutte in. Excuse me, Boutte. Now it's Boutte, according to John Hansen from Fantasy Points, who asked him himself, and he's like, no, it's Boutte. Speaking of the New England Patriots, Mike Reese, who has covered the Patriots forever for ESPN.com, believes that the snap distribution could be changing this upcoming week. It's something that these beat writers can never come right out and say. They have to imply it. They have to kind of like dance around it a little bit. But you would assume he means that Travion Henderson is probably going to be getting more snaps this week. Does that mean more touches? I would think so.
Mm-hmm.
Patriots rushed for only 60 yards in week 1, and Mike Vrabel was quoted in his presser this week. We have to evaluate everything to make sure we're getting it right based on volume, who's playing, who's getting the ball, who's trying to get the ball. And obviously, Henderson going up against that juicy Miami Dolphins defense. It was awful in week 1. Ferrell, I think based on how Henderson was moving up the draft boards in KFFSC, moving up the draft boards at the FFPC, I don't think we need to tell people this, because if you have Henderson on your team, you pretty much already gave yourself the green light to start him. But now he's like coming up on like must-start territory, and this could be a massive Henderson week. Maybe could mean the end of Ramondre Stevenson as the 1A or 1B. He might turn into a handcuff after week 2. I don't like to be hyperbolic, but there's a non-zero chance of that happening.
60-40% split will continue with snaps, but Henderson is going to get first and second down. Stevens is going to get the passing downs, but that doesn't mean Henderson can't catch the ball. I like where this player's career is going, and I like where this team is going, despite the fact they lost to who, Balky, in week 1?
The Patriots?
Yeah.
They lost to the Las Vegas Raiders.
Thank you, sir. They did lose to the Raiders. Just wanted everybody to know that if you were otherwise.
So by the way, 16 minutes into the show, we have a Michael Pittman week 1 stat report and a Raiders reference that they won.
Yeah, you know, and we got a handsome guy wearing a chain, wearing a beret and a chain. You know, it's fantastic. This is entertainment. You can tell we've been off for 2 weeks. We're coming back strong.
Yes, well, we're coming back slowly, but strong.
I see us coming back strong.
Okay, all right, fair enough. I'm with you.
I think you're doing a great job.
Thank you so much. We have one other point I want to get to before the 20-time FFPC League champ Ray Seggern comes on. Andy Reid said that Xavier Worthy with the shoulder injury has quote slim odds of playing against the Eagles on Sunday. Nate Taylor had this report for ESPN.com. Probably, and did he get listed as doubtful today? I think he did. Reed says that Worthy's doing very well. He did a little bit of teamwork today on Friday after he got in a limited practice the day before. There's a possibility that he could play. Ferrell, this goes back to the whole thing. I'm rooting for him to be inactive because I don't want to feel forced to start him in what could be limited snaps or maybe a decoy role. I don't know. I'd rather have the option of starting Hollywood Brown in my flex spot this week, a guy who got 16 targets last week, turned it into 99 receiving yards, 10 catches. I'm more rooting for Worthy to be inactive so I can play Hollywood Brown. Problem is that's a 425 start. Try to help make us sense of this, make us make sense of this right now. What are we supposed to do? Are we playing the waiting game with Worthy, or are we just putting Hollywood Brown in there and letting, throwing caution to the wind?
Mm-hmm. You're putting Hollywood Brown and other players who are active because you're not in bye weeks and you've got a 20-man roster and you've got good players on your roster.
So you are saying that you are playing Brown here.
Oh, easy. Yeah.
Well, I guess the other thing too is it might be dependent upon what else you have on your roster. Like if you can afford to wait until 425, if Worthy's active, and you could sub in somebody else instead of Brown, then for sure go ahead.
You think long, you think wrong, Bucky. Just go ahead and play with it.
So there you go. That's the long and the short of it. Ferrell thinking short, I'm thinking long, but as Ferrell said, paralysis by analysis, think long, think wrong. A guy who never thinks wrong is this guy that we're going to bring in right now, ladies and gentlemen, a winner of 20, count them, 20 FFPC League championships over the course of his high-stakes career. He's here tonight to discuss his start in week 1 from the FFPC Main Event, the Big Gorilla, and, of course, the KFFSC Main Event as well. You can connect with him on X at Ray Seggern. Please welcome onto the program, Mr. Ray Seggern. Ray, welcome in, man. How are you?
Good to see you guys, man. How's it going?
It's going good. It was great seeing you in Louisville. Had a blast drafting it. Well, I didn't have a blast drafting against you there because you took some of my players, but that's okay. It's always fun sitting at the table with you.
But we're wearing the best in fantasy.
Oh, look at that! Look at that, ladies and gentlemen.
There's a fair chance that the time fabric continuum, the matrix, is going to fold over on itself because we got a lot of Balky and Ferrell now on here. Even we got double It's like the Doublemint twins now.
Shout out Fantasy Sopranos for those T-shirts, which were a huge hit in Las Vegas as well.
Nice.
The FFPC players definitely scooping those up as well as the
Ray. You can wear any type of clothing and pull it off. That's what makes you a versatile.
I know, right?
Oh
my God, the shirt! Look at that. Thank you, buddy. Thank you guys for having me on. You know, it's great to be. We got to do football season. Let's go.
Yes, it's so good to have you on, obviously, Ray. And anybody who knows you, anybody who knows your past, you have led a very interesting life. Whatever you want to share, please do. Whatever you don't want to share, that's cool too. But for the only non-fantasy football portion of the interview, we'll lead off with what you're doing for a living when you're not crushing all these FFPC leagues.
Well, thank you for the crushing. Yeah, we're manifesting that for the season ahead. I appreciate that, Balky. Thank you. So, Austin, Texas, graduated University of Texas with a radio, TV, film degree. I had a nice career in radio through the 90s and a little bit into the aughts. And then I realized mostly alternative rock, did a little news talk as well. Realized that I kind of saw where radio was headed. So I got it on the side with the money. So I started an advertising agency and I've been doing that. Wizard of Ads Group. We got 90 people around the world now. So doing pretty good with that. And, but my real passion is for filmmaking. So we had a film world premiere at Tribeca this year. We got another one launching in Nashville in a couple weeks. So enjoying the heck out of that in this season of my life.
What are you making films about, Ray?
So all kinds. So what you got?
So you are now documentaries. Okay.
We do documentaries and features. So the film at Tribeca was independent comedy called Leads. And the documentary that we're hearing, creative types that help veterans process their trauma through arts programs.
Okay, very cool.
Yeah, very cool. Richard, the founder of that, has a great story. He was in Fallujah and his best friend got killed. And he was brain damaged. So he came home and he actually became an artist, and that helped him process his trauma. So it's just amazing work. Creative Vets. So take Creative Vets, VET veterans, make it one word.org and go give them some money because it's a great organization.
Thank you for that, Ray. It's a glorious career, Balky. The whole show. This could be the whole show.
Let's talk football.
You're outstanding in fantasy football. I want to thank you for returning to the KFFSC this year. I also want to thank you for helping us facilitate a few leagues when you were not on schedule to play. And our boy.
Well, I backed into the big payback auction. Man, there's some killers in that one.
No, yeah, they'll take your skin and sell it back to you, man. It's rough.
No, this might be my year.
You've got as a legitimate shot as anyone to come in and take that. And by the way, Cullen Hoffman just checked in, a Appletonian there, Balky, with you, and Cullen is our week 1 main event leader in Kentucky. Ray, Aaron Rodgers went out and threw for 4 touchdowns this weekend. I don't think anyone saw it coming. I never saw old Aaron Rodgers drafted in any of our drafts. But let's don't focus on him.
Right.
For the rest of the roster there in Pittsburgh, the beneficiary of his largesse was one Calvin Austin. What got you in business with Calvin Austin, and did you see a natural connection between the aged quarterback and the youthful receiver?
So a little of both, but I got in the Calvin Austin business back in my dynasty leagues when I saw how good the Steelers scouts were at getting the 10th or 18th receiver in the draft, Deontay Johnson, and of course Pickens, So gobbled up some shares early on, and obviously he was injured his rookie year. And then, when I didn't think Rodgers was going to blow up this quick, but, when he came in, the narrative I heard was DK was going to be the Devontae Adams, and that may still shake out to be the case. But as a guy who already had a little bit of emotional rooting interest for Calvin Austin, I could see him, this is before the season, kind of having a Randall Cobb kind of season, potentially. So, maybe that's his ceiling, which would be a hell of a ceiling, 90 grabs, maybe 1,200 yards. double-digit touchdowns. That's what I got as many shares as I've got. That's what I'm rooting for, But
Sure.
maybe the floor. I think all of the projectors had him way too low. I'm still looking at 35 catches for 500 yards on, and I mean he's to this start. I think we're looking like the minimum. I think the floor would be like a Mooney type season from last year, maybe 70 catches, 60, 70 catches, 900 yards.
And 60, 70 catches where you took him that'll win some games. Isn't that right, Bob?
Yeah,
I would say so. And like, listen, we don't want to overrate it. It was one game. Obviously, Rodgers was on fire this past week. But I will say that in this game where the Steelers ended up notching 34 points, again, what I thought was going to be a pretty stout Jets defense. You had Pat Freiermuth held under 30 receiving yards. Jonnu Smith held under 20 receiving yards. I was of the opinion that those were the two guys that were going to be sharing, and along with Jaylen Warren, sharing the number 2 pass catcher role for Pittsburgh this year. I didn't think Calvin Austin was going to get that involved. And yet, what does he do in 1 week? 70 yards, and he gets into the end zone. And if he doesn't have to do that every week to hit what you're talking about with the Mooney season. If he continues down this road, at least, maybe meandering off the road just a little bit here and there, I think that is well within the cards this season for Calvin.
Yeah, and if you're rocking him as a flex, hopefully you're not counting on him to be your 1 or your 2, but for depth and come the bye weeks, he could win you some games. Yeah.
And the other guy that I thought was surprising in this game too, with how much he was involved, 11 carries for Jaylen Warren, 1 carry for Caleb Johnson for -2 yards, and then Kenneth Gainwell got 7 carries. Now, granted, he only got 19 yards out of it. He did see 4 targets. He catches 3 of them as well. This is not a massive stat line by any stretch of the imagination, but it's a running back, and we're always running back hungry in high-stakes fantasy football. Ray, is that sort of your reasoning on why you want to make sure Gainwell got on your squad?
It starts for me with that Arthur Smith offense, and it's going to be a little bit unpredictable. My beloved Bijan Robinson, that 1 year, Algier had to vulture a lot of the carries and all that. So coming in this year, there's always a little bit of an X factor, I think. I think that there's a lot of that going around the league where 3 or 4 weeks from now, I think a lot of we'll settle in. We'll have a better sense of what is reliable on some of this. But at the price, I've got plenty of leagues where I need that kind of lottery ticket at running back, and for him, and that was even before, you saw the touches come down the way they did in that first week.
I like that assessment. Last night, Thursday Night Football rolled around. I was in heaven, the Green Bay Packers, and I get a Packer question because Balky is obviously balking on them. But when we
does Balky have to recuse himself from asking the Packer question?
I'm not doing any more of this. He throws me the Packers question. He wears the Raiders chain. So but Jordan Love, who I aptly started in a couple games, but I looked at the boys in the desert. They had him at 240 passing yards. 240 passing yards was their number. He eclipsed that, and he did it impressively with some of his receiver core hurting. And we look back, Ray, often to the pros versus Joes and the guests that are coming in, and they want to plant their flag on certain players. I'm not necessarily a flag planter, but there's no player with more flags sticking out of him than Packers tight end Kraft, and what a great contribution he made to the Jordan Love passing game. So with all of this talent around Jordan Love and the fact that so much of it at the wide receiver position looks to me to be interchangeable. Whoever they put out there seems to be able to deliver. What's your thought about Jordan Love scoring big fantasy points through the rest of the year?
Yeah, some of my favorite builds are when I waited painfully long on quarterback. And so I've got a few builds where I've got some permutation of Love with Herbert and Lawrence and CJ Stroud, who I think is going to have a nice bounce back year once the Texans settle in. I could be a homer on that. It's entirely possible. But, when it comes to Love, I agree with you on the receiver point. Dontavian looked like he was going to step up. And again, as a Longhorn homer, The golden boy is going to arrive. He's going to get it done. He's going to have a great season. And I think that Jaden Reed being out, although I understand he could come back this year, if that gives Matthew Golden a chance to step up a little bit, he's definitely got the skills. I got to witness that firsthand here in college. So I'm very bullish on Jordan Love. And I would go so far as if I was going to make bold predictions here on the happy hour, I will make a bold prediction that the FFPC main event winner this year will be a quarterback by committee involving some of those quarterbacks that I just mentioned.
That's sensible.
It's weird, Ray, because I'm normally in that camp. And I would say within the last couple of years, I did go after some of the elite guys early. In fact, this year, I think I took Hurts early in one and Burrow early in one. But then I did wait, and you used the modifier uncomfortable amount of time. And it was uncomfortable for me too. But I did end up drafting a lot of these late guys. You mentioned Trevor Lawrence, obviously Love, Purdy. I think you can lump in there a little bit as well. In fact, I have Brock Purdy to thank in a lot of Kentucky leagues this week, guys. Because of his injury, I was forced to play Love on Thursday night, and I'm very thankful for that as well.
Okay, there you go. Yeah.
So sometimes it works out that way. You just never know.
Sure.
My son is in his second year of playing fantasy football. He is in a 12-team league. You only have to start 2 receivers. Otherwise, it's a normal standard starting lineup with flexes and so on and so forth. We lost George Kittle this week, guys. But thankfully, there are some tight ends out there. You think about the tight ends that got picked up this week in the FFPC. Harold Fannin in some leagues, Juwan Johnson obviously in a bunch. But we are blessed with Hunter Henry out on the waiver wire here. And Ray, I'm going to pick your brain on this. Should he be in starting lineups, most starting lineups in the FFPC this weekend when they travel down to Miami to take on that Dolphins defense?
So the way you asked the question to say most, I don't think so, because he's going to be outside the top 12, I think. I mean, for me, I'm a tight end heavy guy in FF. Like my best dynasty teams perennially are where I've got 2 premium tight ends, right? So I was picking up a lot of Tyler Warren in the rookie drafts, right? So I own a lot of Hunter Henry, but I don't think I'm going to be starting him much this week. There will be a stray league where he might migrate up to the second flex, okay? But it won't be many that I'll be starting. I mean, I love that he seems to be May's safety valve. We saw a lot of that last year. I think that the receiver core is going to take a minute to shake itself out. I think Stephon Diggs still is going to make his presence known a little bit. Kayshon Boutte, I don't know. Is that a fluke? Was that a matchup thing, or is that the new thing? I don't know. God. But as far as Hunter, probably not most lineups this week, but yeah, I'm a truther, and I've got plenty of it for bye weeks and injuries for sure.
Deep in the heart of Texas, Ray, you might be in position to answer this great question. And this is, our producer Bryce peppers these things in here just to try to confuse me. Bryce is because he's Balky's best friend, and he's always giving me some stuff that'll cause me trouble.
Should we sing The Eyes of Texas right quick? Or
Yellow Rose is my personal favorite.
Okay. The stars at night are big and bright.
Deep in the heart.
Right. Is this what they sing at UT games, Ray? For football?
We don't. That was a little bit. That was just a goofy little thing. It's really The Eyes of Texas.
We're getting goofy with question number 6, which may be a goofy question. I don't care how fantasy players score points. I just want them to score points. Javonte Williams scored points for me this weekend in several leagues. I believe he keeps the job. I believe he continues to score points. And I believe the young player, Jaden Blue, when he becomes available, does make a contribution, but not to the extent of making Williams a non-validated fantasy football player. Your thoughts on the Dallas Cowboys backfield? And can you get Dak going, for God's sakes?
Mm-hmm. Dak's going to have a good enough year just on volume, I think. Mm-hmm. So it's tough to be a recovering Cowboys fan these days. It's just tough. It's just tough. But from a purely objective fantasy standpoint, and also a guy who got to watch Jaden Blue at Texas, I concur with your assessment that it's really probably more of a passing down gadget. Maybe he's got a role to play in returns. When he breaks one open, and with the kickoff rules this year, I could see that happening sooner. I did not understand the healthy scratch. I didn't get that this week. But there was a little bit of that going around. Mm-hmm. And then when you saw what Shoddy said in the post game, or it wasn't the post game press conference, it was during the week. He made it one of those things where it's like Jaden's still got some work to do.
Yeah, they've been talking that since the whole camp.
Yeah, I'm not entirely bullish on the Cowboys backfield in any shape, form, or fashion. I mean, it was nice to see Javonte fall forward into the end zone a couple of times against an Eagles defense that was down a very notable man. I don't think we're on the cusp of a ground and pound situation in Dallas. So I'm really, I like in my dynasty leagues, I did a double dip where I would draft one and then go acquire the other. In some cases, draft both. Don't have much of either one of them in my insane in the main teams or in the Big Gorilla.
Got you.
Couple of questions from YouTube. The number one, I'm going to go back up to it and see if I can put it on the screen here. I think it was Rob Phillips had this. He wants to know, what do you guys think about Noah Fant's outlook? He picked him up in a couple leagues. Fant was another guy that ended up getting into the end zone week 1 with his new team, by the way, as well. It's tight end premium race, so we sort of have to talk about it. And I will say that it was kind of a quiet week for the Bengals overall, like the heavy hitters, the Chases, the Higgins, so on and so forth. But what do you do with Noah Fant? What did you do with Noah Fant in your leagues? Did he make it on any of your rosters?
No, I don't own very much of him. Like I say, I put a premium on tight end in Kentucky, but especially in the FFPC. Mm-hmm. So I don't own a lot of Fant, and I didn't go after a lot of him. Just like if you look back last year at Gesicki when Gesicki's who's come into mind for me with the Bengals, where he would have a couple of those 8 for 78 and a touchdown games, but good luck figuring out 1 in 3, 1 in 4, which ones it's going to be, right? So ideally, I'm looking for tight ends on my builds as much as possible, where there's a little more reliable volume, I guess.
Reliable volume from rookie Harold Fannin. There was a commentary earlier about acquiring a Harold Fannin. If you drafted with the old Cleveland Browns fan, John Anderson, out in Las Vegas or in Kentucky, you're not going to have Fannin on the waiver wire. I think he is on every one of John's teams. And what validation?
I think he was in my bourbon turn draft on Sunday morning, and he was he was going off about him and Dylan Sampson both.
Yes, he loves those girls.
I do want to, if we could shift it from Cleveland, I want to go to Philadelphia here. Jimmy Williams, speaking of Kentucky, posted this. He wants to get our opinions on the Eagles acquiring Tank Bigsby for 2 picks, a 5th and a 6th rounder, just to be a special teamer, which was reported in a lot of spots. I shouldn't say a lot, but several spots. Will Shipley, they say he's got, I think it was an oblique or something, or like a strained muscle, but there are a lot of rumors that he's actually dealing with a fractured rib there as well. Ray, I'll let you have the floor on this one. I'll just say, I don't think Howie Roseman, as good as he is at coming out ahead in these trades, he doesn't strike me as the GM that trades a 5th and a 6th round pick strictly for special teams depth. I think Bigsby, they want him to have a role there.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, man, that roster is loaded for sure. And, obviously, is there a role with a healthy Saquon? So if I think for me, I don't think I have him on any of my Gorillas or main event teams. I don't think. I do have him on some dynasty teams, and that's sort of how I viewed that trade, was kind of wait and see, I guess. But as far as I wouldn't actively be going to acquire him at this point. Unless it's just a league where like I said, I've got some leagues where I need some lottery tickets at running back. So then if that's what your team calls for, Jimmy, then go for it. Good to see you, Jimmy.
I'll, as a guy who saw AJ Dillon up close in Green Bay for several years, I can't imagine that he's the plan B if Barkley goes down. Like Bigsby behind that offensive line, I think even though Bigsby's sort of like a between the tackles banger as well. I think that he'd be the guy I'd be looking for. So yeah, maybe injury away type guy is the role that he's fulfilling in Philly. But while Barkley's healthy, to your point, Ray, probably not going to get on the field a whole lot in a fantasy meaningful sense.
I think that's right. And the question I would want to ask is, why did the team deal Bigsby? Not why did they acquire him, but why did they deal Bigsby?
I'll tell you why. I think they love the two guys they drafted this year, in Tootin and Allen. And Etienne was a workhorse in week 1. I think it was Liam Cohen said, like, look, it's going to be difficult for us to keep 4 running backs on this team. And it turned out it was too difficult, and that's why they made the trade before the season started.
They got value for him. It's like the old general manager. I asked the general manager once, why did you trade that guy? And he said, Ferrell, I got tired of looking at it. And I always thought that was the greatest answer.
Hey, let's not
I go in the locker room and I'd have to look at him. I just got tired of it.
I don't think we can underestimate, with what they did going to get Travis Hunter, right? And now we see he's going to be mostly an offensive player for now anyway, right? To me, the sort of the leveling factor there in that backfield is the familiarity going back to Clemson. And I think just as long as, he can get it done on the field, then I think that they'll leave Etienne be the lead dog and let him be a workhorse.
I mean, at least for the first half of the season, I would think that would be the case too. Now that could change, but I'm with you as of right now, Ray. Speaking of underestimation, did FFPC players underestimate or at least underrate DeAndre Swift this year? A guy who was not going in the top 20 running backs, and yet he is the only Chicago Bears running back in week 1 to get a carry. He also sees 5 targets in this game. He ends up getting 65 yards total, 3 receptions, underwhelming stats. Roschon Johnson, I know, was down, and it looks like he might be up for the Lions game this weekend. And obviously, Ben Johnson said he wants to get Kyle Monangai more involved. Sometimes when coaches say that, it's just something to say. So I'll bring that up. That could be like a red herring here as well. But DeAndre Swift, man, he got everything he could handle on a Bears offense that a lot of people were high on.
Yeah, the Ben Johnson effect, I drafted a ton of him coming in because it felt like a deal, whether I was in a lot of cases, he is my RB2, and I feel real good about that. As we get to talk about every Longhorn running back in the league, if we could somehow get me to Carolina to talk about Jonathan Brooks before we get out of here, I'll hit for the cycle.
Yes.
But Roschon Johnson, lifetime Longhorn Roschon Johnson, I feel like if he gets back and gets healthy, they could really replicate. I forget what the cute little saying they have up in Detroit, but he could be the Montgomery, the David Montgomery role. He could be the pounder, and Swift could be
the Swift.
The Swift. Thank you very much. There, he'll be the lightning in that.
Thunder lightning. Yeah, Swift lightning. Okay.
I'm not saying that he may or may not be able to rise to that same level, but
Ray,
coming out of Georgia, he had the gifts, and now maybe he's got the system.
You've got to come with it because it's week 2, and we are expecting nothing but running back expertise and a crystal ball from you. I mean, once again, Bryce continues. I mean, these questions. Okay, now Seattle. I want Walker to be the guy. I want Charbonnet to play a support role. Am I going to get what I want?
It doesn't look like it, does it? It looks like they flipped roles.
Yeah.
The thing that was most surprising there, I mean, so the carries, the touches, the snaps, the touchdown. The thing that blew my mind was that Walker was the guy in the passing game.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yes. Which we know he can do, but Charbonnet has demonstrated more of a talent for doing more with his catches than Walker. But to your point, 3 catches, 4 yards for Kenneth Walker. He did see it was 3 of his targets. He caught all of them, and Charbonnet did not see a target. He did get 12 carries, so he out-carried him 12-10, and obviously 47 yards on the ground for Charbonnet, just 20 for Walker.
Yeah, but they were hard-earned yards in the passing game, Bob.
Farrell, they count the
Dom Gazzetti knows there's a music man on the show. He is on fire tonight. Look what Dom's throwing out.
Yeah,
Come on, look what Dom's throwing
there
out.
can coming. Yeah, absolutely. No, but I'll say this, and JJ Zachariason was talking about this on his podcast earlier this week. He's like, he doesn't believe Charbonnet is ahead of Walker right now. But guys, when we looked at how where these guys started off in FFPC drafts at the start of drafting season, or even in the middle, where Walker was, 3rd, 4th round, and Charbonnet wasn't going to like the 9th or 10th.
Yeah.
You look at it, how it ended up towards the end. I'm bringing it up right now just so I'm not misquoting myself. But the last 2 days of drafting in the FFPC main event, which was, the opening weekend or whatever, Charbonnet got up to the 7th round, and Kenneth Walker actually stayed mostly in the 3rd round. He did fall to the 4th in a couple of them. And that was only like 4 rounds of separation as opposed to like 6 or 7, what it was a couple of months ago. So people were already getting on the Charbonnet bandwagon.
And Jimmy Williams makes a great commentary, guys.
Yeah, he's talking about Walker being dinged up in training camp, thinking that it could be worse than it was actually led on by Seattle. There's certainly a possibility for that as well. We've seen guys that were a little, think about Stephon Diggs and how fast he started off in training camp. Then he started tailing off, and he didn't do much in week 1. AJ Brown, we already talked about, a guy who was dinged up throughout training camp, and he didn't do much week 1. So it's one of those things. Like, we don't know. All we can do is follow the trends at this point. And I think the trend we're seeing right now, that this is much closer to a timeshare than I think anybody who drafted Kenneth Walker wants to admit or believe.
Yeah. Sure, and that makes Charbonnet the great value of the draft of that backfield because of where you got him, right? So you get comparable production 4 or 5 rounds later. I didn't draft any Kenneth Walker. I have a fair amount of Charbonnet, so I'm feeling pretty good about that for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've got the handcuff in so many dynasties, which is really frustrating now.
Well, there's
because
in
the dynasty, I want what Ferrell wants too. I want one of the 2 of them to be the bell cow. Right. But I don't think we're going to get that for him.
Well, unless there's an injury, because if there's an injury to either one of them, then all of a sudden the other one's looking really, really good.
That's true.
I don't, we were talking about this on the Insider Access show last night with George, and I can't remember his last name, the 3rd or 4th stringer for Seattle. And then I brought up Damian Martinez, the 6th round pick that they had there this year. These guys are light years as far as talent behind Walker and Charbonnet. So whoever gets hurt, the other one is going to get all he can handle at the table for sure. Ray C in the chat right now in YouTube. Whoops, sorry. Dak Prescott or Justin Fields this week? Do you think Fields could duplicate last week's performance? Ray, I'll let you answer this first. I'll just say this. I'm playing Fields over Prescott. Do I think he could duplicate what he did last week? Yes, I think it's possible. I don't think it's likely, given that I believe Fields had his best game as a pro last week. Yeah. It's tough to do that 2 weeks in a row, Ray.
Yeah, Dak's against the Giants this week, right? And I'm going Dak on this one. Yeah, I think we're gonna see the full. I think Dak's going to unleash it. I think it could be a 3 or 4 touchdown game.
Prescott at home against the Giants too, as you mentioned. Fields is at home against the Bills. Farrell, do you have a dog in this fight between Fields and Prescott?
Lamb still playing for Dallas?
Yes.
I think I'll go with that.
Okay, there you go. And there you go. Listen, George Hulani, thank you, Jimmy Williams.
Boise State.
Yes, that was the other Seattle running back I couldn't remember. I do remember these emails. I want to read them to you, Ray. Joe in Carlsbad, California leads us off. How do I handle Brock Bowers properly on Monday night this week? Thank you so much, Joe. We appreciate the email. Bowers officially not seen at practice again today. It is a Monday night game, so technically today was the Thursday practice, and tomorrow will be the Friday practice, as it were, when it comes to Bowers. I have one dynasty league, and I hope nobody's in that league is watching this right now, where Bowers is my only tight end. And I did put in some minor bids for both Tyler Conklin and who's the other guy on Disley from the Chargers. Remember, we get 2 Monday night games this week. Kate Otten was floating out there in some of my KFFSC leagues. It's not a KFFSC dynasty, so Otten was already taken. But you have essentially 4 teams to pick from. Michael Mayer may be out there as well. But Ray, if you have Bowers as your only tight end, you can't take that 0. What are you doing? What would you suggest people to do? Or if you have Bowers on a team as your only tight end, what are you doing?
Yeah, so you want to go hunt downs because you've got 3 other options. You're looking for which of those other tight ends might be available in your league for starters, right? Mm-hmm. And if not, you have the unfortunate task of a bird in the hand or waiting to see, right? That's always the toughest thing to do, right? If there is potentially take the goose egg on Monday, right? So as much as I hate to say it, if it's a top 10 or 12 option, I may actually take the safety of a healthy starter on Sunday and bench Bowers, as just crazy as that sounds. That's generally what I will do.
Well, you teased it beautifully. You said another day of practice, and that is correct. And if he sees the practice field tomorrow, he'll play. Yeah. They've talked about him playing all week. Bowers doesn't need the kind of practice that the Raiders are practicing anyway.
Well, Bowers is also himself I normally hate taking injury advice from the player itself because they tend to overestimate how healthy they are. And Bowers himself is saying, "Yeah, we'll see. We'll see." No, you don't say
that's
that.
Not a good thing.
No,
go get Grant Calcaterra. Go back to 50 minutes ago.
The other thing I'll mention too, I didn't look at ownership. In fact, I'm going to look at ownership right now as far as how this guy goes, but. The Buccaneers are playing. They are playing Houston Texans on Monday night. So if you look at, and why can I not find my ownership tab here? Dalton Schultz right now is owned in about half of the Big Gorilla and Main Event leagues, about 55% ownership. So he might be out there as well, and you could pick him up. Otten is probably taken in pretty much all those leagues, but I'd look at Disley and Conklin too. And then that gives you the option to still play the Supernova Bowers. Whereas if you play, Calcaterra or any of these other guys going on Sunday, you take that option away from you on Monday night. Maybe ends up being the right decision, but I want to keep that option open as long as I can if I have Bowers.
Conklin is a neat sneaky sort of play right there because he's available.
50 last week.
Yeah.
Well, didn't Disley have a big play in that game too, or am I misremembering this?
Conklin, you had a lot of things you were doing, Balky, during that event.
Yeah.
You were a busy man.
Conklin 2 for 50 on 2 targets. Disley had 1 catch on 1 target for 18 yards. That was it.
Good, dude.
By the way, Conklin, for what it's worth, also had a carry for 2 yards in that game too. So
that's right.
Whatever. One more email here for you, Ray. This is from Ron in Bladenboro, North Carolina. What's up, Ray? Does the Jaden Reed injury make guys like Matthew Golden, Romeo Dobbs, and Dontavian Wicks more startable? That is Ron in Bladenboro, North Carolina. This is interesting because I think, Ray, a lot of us stay away from the Packers pass catchers because you just never know what that box of chocolates it's going to be on a week-to-week basis. But now that you take Reed out of the equation, are you liking any of these other Packers wide receivers starting? They play Cleveland next week.
Yeah, for sure. So Dobbs for sure. Golden, I think I will be rolling the bones on Golden for sure. And I already looked, and Dontavian Wicks is available everywhere, and I'm definitely going to gobble up some Dontavian Wicks where I need him on the teams that I need him. That's always the thing. Some of the other lottery tickets we talked about earlier. It always comes down to whatever particular build is. And to me, that's the fun of having multiple teams, not only in the tournaments but in Dynasty as well. Is and play in different formats, whether it's, the Triflex and doing some Superflex. Love doing that auction in Kentucky, and just being able to build different teams different ways. That's probably my favorite part of really getting the hang of this high stakes thing.
I will say this in regards to the Packers receivers. Wicks did get 4 for 44 that game, but like 3 of them were right away. I think on that first,
They were
two or 3 of them on that first drive when Golden was still out there, or when Jaden Reed, beg your pardon, was still out there. And Matthew Golden, 2 targets, no catches. I know a lot of people blamed the Jordan Love throw on the one to the end zone. So there's that. He did get 2 carries for 15 yards. And Dobbs 3 for 28. He did get in the end zone as well. But a lot of these catches were early. So it's like once Reed got hurt and the Packers went up by 2 touchdowns, you saw a lot of Josh Jacobs. You saw Savion Williams, Matthew Golden, each getting multiple carries in this game. I don't know if we know. It's Ray. It's kind of like what you said. Like you kind of got to go by instinct on this. Dobbs, it makes perfect sense that Dobbs would be targeted more. It makes perfect sense that Dontavian Wicks would be targeted more. Is the Packers offense going to do that? Who the heck knows? Maybe Tucker Kraft and Luke Musgrave combined for like 15 targets. 15 targets. Anything's possible with this offense going.
I would love to see that. I would love to see because Musgrave was the jam until Tucker came along and blew up. And if you go back to some of those Patriots teams that had two
Gronk and Hernandez.
tight ends.
Yeah. The Packers in the late 90s had Mark Chmura and Keith Jackson, and when they won the Super Bowl too. So there's precedent. There's precedent. Absolutely, there's precedent. There's also precedent for this final question that Ferrell is going to ask you. Something we ask a baller, I guess.
It is. With Ray, I don't know how to ask this question, but I will
dance around it, Ferrell. Just bring it to me.
Who are you putting on center stage as your main act for this year's? A musician no one may have heard of, or a guy that no one may believe in like you do? And who are you kicking out of the band? That's how I want to ask.
Nice.
Okay, so are you asking me about actual music, or are you asking
this is a football question using musical analogies as
All
front and center, with the microphone and the spotlight, and the guy that you would pull over with on the bus, take a break, and the bus would leave him there.
Okay, so in tight end premium, I think for me, Tyler Warren is the guy that was drafted in such a great position, and I think is going to yield such rewards and be consistent, and we're just getting started. So that's probably my one guy I'm hottest on. I'm also hot on Travion Henderson, another rookie that I think is gonna have potential.
Those guys are doing so great. You wish you were still drafting, don't you?
I do. I really do. I wish we were all still in Kentucky. Actually, I really think Travion Henderson could have a Jahmyr Gibbs like season. That would be the ceiling, obviously. It's not much higher than it could be, but I think that there's a real chance that he becomes the focal point of that offense.
To your point, the Colts were led in targets last week by Tyler Warren. He gets 9 of them. Pittman gets 8, and nobody else had more than 3. Warren cashed in on 7 of those targets for receptions for 76 yards. So
Pittman
looking good.
And Pittman was a great value where you were able to get Pittman, in drafts.
Pittman is the motto of this show. And if it wasn't for Surtain, you could play Pittman over Jamar Chase and those single digit numbers. So, I mean, God, Balky, can you believe a single digit first? What is going on?
I'll say this right now: if it wasn't for Ferrell Elliott on this program, Michael Pittman would have been like a 14th round pick. Ferrell drove his.
Hey, who's your guy? I know you hate going negative, but who is your guy leaving off the buzz?
Yeah, so the Dolphins are just a hot mess. They're just a mess, right? And so I have Chan in some dynasties, and I drafted him in a single big gorilla draft. And then Tyreek, I don't know what's going on there. So those are second round. Tyreek, as it went on, he was slipping into the third round, as I recall. But Yeah, I don't want to play any Dolphins.
I'm with you. Tyreek Hill, never, ever a consideration. And, Mr. Hoyt checks in, says Pittman will go 2 for 12. We've already discussed early on before Scott joined the show that we would be playing other players in front of Pittman this weekend because we have that opportunity.
The only person who's not is Ferrell Elliott, who is contractually obligated to start Michael Pittman in every league that he plays in. That's just what it is. Ray, final question. I'm just kidding.
Sure.
By the way, final question. I know Ferrell normally asks it. I want to flip it back to music of all the stars that you have interviewed over the years, all the bands. Do you have a favorite one? Do you have one that sticks out to you as like, man, that was so much fun?
Yeah. Well, there's a bunch. So I'll tell you the big names like Maynard from Tool or James Hetfield were actually disappointed. It's hard to meet your heroes when they're that big. Mm-hmm. I will tell you that the band Sublime was recording their Much Ballyhooed album in Austin, Texas with Paul Leary from the Butthole Surfers. When I was doing a Sunday night radio show where I could do whatever I want. It's kind of a free form new music show. And my music director called and said, Sublime, they got that song Date Rape and they're in town recording. They want to come and hang out on the radio. Will you let them come up? And I said, yeah. So they came in and, those guys like to partake. So the studio got foggy. But the reason why that one stands out, guys, is because obviously Bradley died before the album came out, and Sublime became a whole cultural phenomenon, and not many people got to interview them on the radio. I mean, the LA guys, K-Rock and 91X in San Diego, Live 105. I mean, they were a California phenomenon, but it wasn't until they came to Austin to record that album, and then Bradley unfortunately died, that the album sold millions and millions. They become a whole thing. So I got to interview Bradley from Sublime while he was
very cool. Very cool.
Did you say the studio got fuzzy? What did you say?
Foggy. Got foggy.
I thought you said fuzzy.
I was like,
fuzzy. It's really the same.
Anything with my glasses, I had to do this.
It's really.
I will say this, and we'll leave you with this. People can connect with you on X at Ray Seggern. Give the website once again for the veterans.
For creative vets, and better to find me on Instagram or Facebook. To be honest with you, I'm not on X all that much, but at Ray Seggern on Instagram or rayseggern.com if you want to hook up or whatever. But creative vets right there, and go check that out. Those guys are doing great work, and so with my filmmaking stuff, I love to get involved with stories that are powerful about world changers like Richard at Creative Vets, but I also like to make horror films and goofy indie comedies. So that's really, those are the most fun, really.
It's one of those rare fields too, where you're, kind of creatively fulfilling and satisfying yourself, but at the same time, opening a lot of stuff up for other people to enjoy too. That's very
Balky,
cool.
Throw up Joe King's quote, just particularly for Ray, because he will.
Buttholes for picture day. Oh, you saw.
I peaked in 8th grade.
Way to go, Joe!
Yeah, absolutely, Joe.
For the win.
Just for the audio listeners, he posted that he wore a Butthole Surfer shirt. We're totally YouTube is never going to let this fly. He wore a BH Surfer shirt for picture day at school, but all you saw was the BH word on his shirt, and he says he peaked in 8th grade. Quite frankly, if you're that creative in 8th grade, there's no way you peaked in 8th grade.
Right. You're just getting started.
Exactly. Ray, thank you so much for hopping aboard. This was a blast. We'll have to have you on it at some point. Good luck in not only week 2, but in all your KFFSC, all your FFPC leagues the rest of the way, man.
Appreciate that, fellas. Thanks so much for having me tonight. Had the best time. It was great.
Oh, so much fun. That is Ray Seggern, ladies and gentlemen, hopping aboard, the 20-time FFPC league champion, obviously a league champion in the KFFSC as well, and looking for a pair of $1 million grand prizes in the FFPC this year as well. Ferrell, we are over time. I want to get into these start sits. If you're still cool with it, we can go rapid fire on this.
You want to go rapid fire?
We'll go rapid fire, yeah. Pete in Dallas. Hey, guys, torn between Jordan Mason and Tyrone Tracy. Who should I start this week? If anybody wants to chime in on the chat, you can definitely do that with your analysis as well. Tyrone Tracy in Dallas. Maybe Pete's going to the game. Tyrone Tracy at Dallas this week. Jordan Mason at home against the Falcons. I lean towards Tracy in this game because of the pass catching chops. We saw Aaron Jones getting the lion's share of the pass catching duties for the Vikings. So I lean Tracy.
I lean Jordan Mason. I love the way he runs the ball.
Scott Hoyt chiming in with Mason. Permar chiming in with Mason. Dom Gazzetti also chiming in with Mason. I'm on my own island on this one with Tracy, but they're all saying Mason. Let's move on to the next one. Who do we got here? This is Ken in Statesboro, Georgia. Keenan Allen over Rome Odunze on Sunday, or vice versa. Thank you. Thank you, Ken. We have, and it's always helpful if you put this in the email. I'll look it up if you don't. That's cool. I just always appreciate it in there with who they play. Rome Odunze in the Motor City to take on the Lions. Keenan Allen at your Las Vegas Raiders, Ferrell.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Keenan Allen is the play. When in Rome, just skip him for this.
I'm actually going to lean towards Odunze in this over Keenan Allen. I worry that we saw more of a ceiling type game for Justin Herbert in that passing game with Hampton and Harris in that backfield. Scott Hoyt saying Odunze as well. I think Allen's fine. If I had the choice with Odunze, I would play him there instead. Moving on to George in Dearborn, Michigan. Would you guys start Dalton Schultz over Cade Otton? These two guys play each other on Monday Night Football. I don't think I would. I got a feeling that we saw a big time Egbuka game. We did not see a whole lot from Otton, and I think there's a bounce back here for him, even against that Texans defense. So I would play Otton over Schultz.
He's Kate Rotten on Monday night. Go with Dalton Schultz. Bob.
Okay, Ferrell is going with Schultz. I can't believe we've disagreed on every single one so far.
Every one.
Yes. Final one, Jerry in Peoria, Illinois. Which underwhelming week 1 quarterback should I play this weekend? Bo Nix or Trevor Lawrence? I appreciate it, guys. Thank you, Jerry. We appreciate you. So this weekend, if we look at the quarterback situation, Bo Nix is actually going to be in Indianapolis taking on the Colts. And you have who's the other one that I just mentioned? Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence is at Cincinnati in that going against that awful defense. I play Lawrence here. I think he just shreds the Bengals, and it could be a shootout as well.
You can't go wrong here because you will make if you drafted Nix, you had much belief in him, and you probably don't have Lawrence on your roster. But if you do, this is why you drafted Lawrence later. Go ahead and start him. Let's agree with one, Balk.
Yeah, Ferrell, you and I are agreeing, but literally everybody is disagreeing with us. Scott Hoyt, Dom Gazzetti both said Nix. Permar99 said Lawrence never. But Jimmy Williams.
Permar's already talking about baseball, which means he violated one rule of the show and cannot even post until October at this point. He
can post. He's always welcome to post. We always appreciate his insight. Jimmy Williams is agreeing with us. He said Trevor Lawrence.
Jimmy Williams says Trevor Lawrence. Yeah. There's not a lot of guys that know as much about fantasy football as Jimmy.
Well, we appreciate everybody who is chiming in, because if you are watching this live on YouTube, Facebook, X, or whatever, or even if you're streaming it later, ball. We always appreciate all the facts and opinions that
Permar is now permanently banned from the show.
He says baseball is better.
Permanently banned from the show.
I don't think I have it in me to permanently ban anybody.
His name will never be mentioned again.
Yeah, it's Ferrell will never speak the name Permar again. But Permar, I'm an extraordinarily forgiving individual. It's the Midwest nice in me, so you are always welcome to come aboard. Scott Hoyt, if we are watching, we have no Friday night life. This is life. This is life. Hanging out.
This is life, Scott. It's as good as it gets.
This. Listen, you can't go anywhere and find a high stakes audience like this on a Friday night. This is life. This is as Matthew McConaughey's character from Dazed and Confused would say, this is living, Livin, living. There you go. Ferrell, always good to talk with you, especially setting aside time on your birthday today. Many happy returns, a very happy birthday to you. KFFSC.com and is where to check out the Kentucky Fantasy Football State Championship. We will do this again 1 week from today, my friend. Have a great birthday weekend.
Thank you, sir.
Absolutely. That is Ferrell Elliott, the definitive commissioner of fantasy football. I want to thank him. I want to thank Ray Seggern, the FFPC, Rob Bryson, and of course, each and every one of you for streaming, watching, listening, viewing, downloading. We appreciate it. We will be back next Friday at 10 p.m. Eastern time. Double shot is the plan right now because stuff got away from me after Vegas this week, and I couldn't make a RotoViz high stakes lowdown happen. And that goes weekly now until the divisional playoff weekend for the NFL. So I'm going to make it up to you, and we'll do a double shot next week. This is the plan right now. Monday night at 6 p.m. Eastern time, we're going to go right leading in to, so it'll be the pregame show for those 2 Monday night games. And then Tuesday at our regular time at 10 p.m. Eastern. So that'll be a lot of fun. In case you miss it, watch this past week's Insider Access show that we streamed last night on the Better Sports Network. You can watch it on the FFPC socials, or I've been coming out with an audio version right now. So you can subscribe to it on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get podcasts, if you prefer to watch or prefer to listen to the audio, which I know some of you have told me that you do. I'm doing a little extra work on that now just for you to get the audio version out there as well. We had Pro Football Focus and 4for4's Justin Edwards on last night. The show will be back live at 7 p.m. this coming Thursday. The FFPC Weekly Challenge is also live. No draft, no salary cap. Just pick 10 players. Win up to $2,500 in 10, 30, or 100-team contests. Only one player per NFL team on this at myffpc.com. It's a blast. It takes a minute to set your lineup. Sign up today at myffpc.com. Remember to like, subscribe, comment on this video, share it with your friends, share it with your enemies, and get notified each and every time we go live, which will be next Friday at 10 p.m. Eastern time for this show. Thanks to Ferrell Elliott, Ray Seggern, for those guys, for Rob, for Bryce, for all of you. This has been the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour. Your weekend officially starts now.
This has been another episode of the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by myffpc.com. It was broadcast live and was watched around the world. Balky and Ferrell will be back next week with more analysis, more interviews, and more advice from guests much smarter than they are. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk with you again next week.
Just one final reminder, everybody. 2 Monday night games this week. 7 o'clock is the Buccaneers and Texans. 10 o'clock is the Chargers and Raiders for an extraordinarily late game that night. And Brock Bowers, officially listed as, doesn't have an injury listing yet, but he has not practiced yet this week. So keep that in mind when you are putting in your waivers for Sunday for the FFPC. Also want to make a note of this. I sent out a couple of emails to you about this. If you are missing any teams on your My Teams page, trust me, they're still there. We added some filters to the My Teams page for the FFPC, so you can pick and choose to see which teams are displayed. If you don't want to look at your best ball teams, you just want to look at your managed teams, you have that option right now. So if you are not seeing any of those, make sure you click next to the filters link right next towards the top of the My Teams page off to the right, and there you'll be able to pick and choose how many or what teams you want revealed there. Hopefully that clears that up. If you have now consumed this, your weekend starts now, and it's going to be a great weekend of Week 2 football. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. We'll talk with you again next week.